When a wedding dress floats in the river and the bride goes missing, we cannot talk about an accident. We are talking about a secret that someone tried very hard to hide. Today we are going to tell you a story that has shaken not only the quiet neighborhood of Vasant Kunj in New Delhi, but the whole of India. The story of Anita Mehta, a 25-year-old programmer who literally vanished into thin air on the eve of her wedding to Vishal Singh. What makes a woman disappear 24 hours before the happiest day of her life? And why was her meticulously hand-embroidered lehenga, a traditional wedding dress worth over rupees 200,000, found floating in the dirty waters of the Yamuna River? "I saw something red on the water," says Ramesh Prasad, a fisherman who found the dress at 5:30 a.m. "At first I thought it was just garbage, but when I swam closer I realized it was an expensive fabric. When I pulled it out I was scared. It was a wedding dress, perfectly clean, just wet." Anita Mehta's disappearance was discovered at 7 a.m. on May 5, 2025, when her mother, Sunaina Mehta, entered her daughter's room with a cup of traditional masala tea to start the day of wedding preparations. "The door was unlocked," Sunaina says excitedly, holding back tears. "The bed was neatly made, as if she hadn't even gone to bed. On the dressing table were her cell phone, wedding ring, and a note. 'I'm sorry, I can't.' And that was it. Just 3 words. Vishal Singh, Anita's 28-year-old fiancé and a leading analyst at the same IT company, Tech Solutions, where she worked, was immediately notified. His reaction, according to family members, was a mixture of shock and disbelief. He just kept repeating, "We were talking last night, everything was fine, we were discussing our honeymoon," recalls Ashok Mehta, Anita's father. Vishal immediately came to us and started calling all of Anita's friends. He looked really distraught. The police were called at 8:30 a.m., and at 10:45 a.m., fisherman Ramesh Prasad was already giving a statement about the wedding dress he had found. The coincidence was too eerie to ignore. The case was handed over to Inspector Rohit Verma, a 42-year veteran of the Delhi CID known for his methodical approach and attention to detail. In 95% of the cases where a bride goes missing before her wedding, she has simply run away to escape an unwanted marriage, explains Inspector Verma, looking around Anita's room. But a wedding dress in the river, that's a signal that it could be much more serious. A check of the CCTV cameras in the Mehta family home and the surrounding streets did not yield a clear picture. The only thing that could be established was that Anita left the house at 11:15 p.m., dressed in jeans and a simple black t-shirt with a small backpack. The footage shows her getting into an Uber taxi. The driver confirmed that he dropped her off at the Select City Walk shopping center. The inspector continues. The mall's cameras captured her entering, but strangely, there is no footage of her leaving. Anita's closest friend, Neha Kapoor, who was supposed to be the main bridesmaid, looks stunned during our interview. "Anita was happy," Neha insists, nervously fumbling with the bracelets on her arm. "She chose Vishal herself. It wasn't a forced marriage. They dated for 3 years, but..." Her voice trails off. "For the last 2 weeks, she's been kind of tense. Whenever I asked her if she was okay, she would always say, 'Everything is fine, just pre-wedding stress.'" Vishal Singh, whom we meet at the Mehta family home, looks exhausted and confused. His hands are shaking as he shows us the latest messages from Anita. "Look, here, at 10:30 p.m., she wrote, 'I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm finally going to be your wife.'" How to understand this? Why would you write something like that if you were planning to run away? Vishal's brother, Amar Singh, gives his version. "We think something bad has happened. Anita is not the kind of person who would just run away. Someone forced her to do it, or..." He doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication is clear. Inspector Verma carefully examines the note left by Anita. The handwriting matches hers, he states, but was she writing it under duress? And how do you explain a wedding dress in a river 15 kilometers from home? Ashok Mehta, Anita's father, categorically rejects the version of a voluntary disappearance. My daughter was a responsible girl. She would never have caused us such pain. If she didn't want to get married, she would have just told us. At 6:20 p.m. that day, the investigation took a shocking turn. Vishal Singh receives a message from Anita's phone. "Don't look for me, I'm sorry." It's definitely her number, confirms police technician Praveen Gupta, but that doesn't mean she sent the message. As the day draws to a close, there are more questions than answers. Did Anita really run away from her wedding, or was she the victim of a crime? And what does the wedding dress floating down the river mean as an eerie symbol of dashed hopes? The investigation is just beginning, and Inspector Verma's words sound like an ominous prophecy. In cases like this, the most obvious answer is rarely the right one. The darkest secrets are often hidden behind the perfect facade of a happy relationship. When everyone around you sees only smiles and romance, few people notice the cracks that are slowly growing in the foundation. Day 6 of the investigation into the disappearance of Anita Mehta. Inspector Rohit Verma unfolds the chronology of the relationship between the missing bride and her fiancé, Vishal Singh, on the table. To understand the reasons for the disappearance, one must first understand the love story that was supposed to culminate in a wedding. They met 3 years ago at Tech Solutions, says Rajiv Khanna, 32, the head of the department where Anita and Vishal worked. Vishal was a senior developer and Anita had just joined the team as a junior programmer. She was incredibly talented and a fast learner. He became her mentor. According to colleagues, their relationship developed gradually and naturally. Joint lunches turned into evening walks and work projects into personal plans. They complemented each other, smiles Priya Kumar, a colleague from the HR department. Vishal is calm, methodical, and always focused. Anita is bright, creative, with incredible energy. A classic case of opposites attracting. A year and a half into the relationship, Vishal proposed to Anita during a corporate trip to Goa. The photos of this moment that Priya shows us show the happy couple on the beach. Vishal on one knee, Anita with her hands pressed to her face in a gesture of joyful surprise. "We all cried when we watched this video," says Priya. "He ordered fireworks that formed the words, 'Will you marry me?' It was like a movie." However, the first cracks began to show behind the perfect facade when it came to organizing the wedding. The families of the future spouses represented two different worlds of modern India. The Mehta family are traditionalists, explains social anthropologist Dr. Sharad Joshi, whom we invited to comment on the case. Ashok Mehta is the owner of a small textile factory in Delhi, the second generation of entrepreneurs. They adhere to traditional values, profess Hinduism, and celebrate all festivals. The Singh family, on the other hand, represents a progressive, cosmopolitan India. Rajendra Singh, Vishal's father, is a successful lawyer with an international practice. His wife, Meenal Singh, is a professor of sociology at Delhi University. The Singhs consider themselves modern, Dr. Joshi continues. They are not very religious, more oriented to Western values, and openly discuss social issues. This is where the controversy began. Despite their progressive image, the groom's family had traditional expectations of dowry. "I heard Anita crying in the toilet after meeting Vishal's parents," Neha Kapoor admits during a confidential interview. She said that Minalji had hinted to her that, in their family, brides usually bring gold and an apartment, and she said it as casually as if it were flowers for the table. There is no evidence of an official dowry demand. This practice is prohibited by law in India. But according to Anita's close friends, the pressure was palpable. Anita started working more, taking on additional freelance projects, says her cousin, Dipti Khanna. When I asked her why she was overloading herself, she would say, "I want to contribute to our life together so that I don't look like a dependent." At the same time, the investigation reveals an unexpected fact. Vishal Singh had significant financial problems that even Anita did not know about. "We got a warrant to check his bank accounts," says Inspector Verma. "He took several quick loans totaling rupees, 1.8 million in the last year. Most of these funds were transferred to the account of one Dharan Malhotra. We are trying to find out who this person is. When we ask Vishal about these debts during the interview, he looks confused. It was for our apartment, Vishal explains, stumbling. I wanted to surprise Anita. Dharan is a realtor who helped me with the down payment for our future apartment in Gurgaon. I didn't tell Anita because I wanted it to be a wedding gift. However, a check of the records shows that no apartment was registered in Vishal's or Anita's name. Moreover, the phone number that Vishal listed as Dharan Malhotra's contact is answered by an answering machine of a non-existent company. We can't say for sure that Vishal is lying, cautiously comments Inspector Verma. He may have been deceived, but this amount of money and the absence of any documents raise serious questions. Meanwhile, the analysis of Anita's phone, which she left at home before she disappeared, provides another clue. The police technical department was able to recover some of the deleted messages. Over the past month, Anita had been in regular contact with a subscriber saved as AC. The messages were carefully deleted, explains technical expert Praveen Gupta. We were able to recover only fragments, but even from them it is clear that the conversations were very personal. One of the recovered fragments is particularly disturbing. I can't go on like this. They don't realize that they are making me feel trapped. I feel like I'm suffocating. Anita has always seemed happy in front of everyone, Neha says thoughtfully. But in the last few weeks, something has changed. She became withdrawn, often checking her phone. I would ask her if she was okay, and she would always answer, "Yeah, it's just stress." I thought it was really pre-wedding excitement. Further investigation leads the police to an unexpected discovery. CCTV cameras from a cafe in House Khas village captured Anita 2 days before she disappeared. She was meeting with a man whose face is not visible on the recording. You can see from her body language that the conversation was emotional, says Lakshmi Rao, a non-verbal communication expert, watching the recording. She grabs her head several times, then wipes her eyes. It looks like she's crying. The man tries to take her hand, but she pulls away. When Inspector Verma shows the video to Vishal, he shudders. I didn't know about this meeting. She said she was working late that day. Who is the mysterious AC? Was Anita forced to hide her true feelings? Was the perfect couple really as perfect as everyone thought? As Inspector Verma says, in disappearance cases, the most important thing is to understand what the person was running from, or what they were striving for. The hardest part of a disappearance investigation is figuring out what is real evidence and what is a deliberate false lead. Sometimes what seems obvious is left out on purpose to lead the investigation down the wrong path. The 14th day of the investigation into the disappearance of Anita Mehta. Inspector Rohit Verma sits opposite Vishal Singh in a small interrogation room. On the wall is a map of events that shows every known move the missing bride made in the last 72 hours before she disappeared. Tell us again where you were on the evening of May 4th, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., the inspector asks calmly, not taking his eyes off the notes. Vishal sighs. His eyes are red from lack of sleep. His suit, which until recently was supposed to be a wedding outfit, looks wrinkled and too loose. It looks like the man has lost a lot of weight over the past 2 weeks. I was at home, preparing my speech for the wedding. At 10:30 I called Anita, and we talked for about 15 minutes. Then I went to bed around midnight. My parents will confirm that I did not leave the house. Vishal's alibi seems solid. Surveillance footage from the Singh's home confirms his story. The cameras outside did not record anybody leaving the house after 9 p.m. Vishal looks genuinely devastated, and his behavior does not raise suspicions among the psychological experts involved in the case. His grief looks genuine, comments forensic psychologist Ritika Patel. The trembling hands, inability to concentrate, weight loss, uncontrollable tears are not something that can be easily played up for 2 weeks. But the investigation takes an unexpected turn when Aditya Chopra, a 29-year-old IT professional who recently returned to India after 5 years in Silicon Valley, comes to the police's attention. According to Anita's friends, Aditya was her first serious boyfriend. They dated during college but broke up when Aditya got a job in the United States. Aditya arrived in Delhi a month ago, says Suresh Dalal, an officer who tracks migration data. He is renting an apartment in Gurgaon district, working remotely for an American company. During the interrogation, Aditya does not hide the fact that he contacted Anita after his return. "Yes, we met a few times like old friends," he explains calmly. "Anita told me about the wedding, showed me photos of the preparations. She seemed happy." But when asked if he is the same AC from Anita's phone, Aditya stutters. "We were exchanging messages. We were just reminiscing about old times. Nothing romantic." A check of Aditya's phone reveals deleted messages in which he writes to Anita, "You deserve to be happy. If Vishal is your choice, I'm happy for you. But if you ever have doubts, remember that there are always other ways in life." Meanwhile, the police cyber unit finds something disturbing in Anita's search history. Over the past 3 months, she has been systematically searching for information about emigration, working abroad, and, most disturbingly, how to start a new life in another country. "We found several queries about Canada, Australia, and New Zealand," reports technical specialist Praveen Gupta. Anita also visited websites of immigration consultants. During a search of the desk in Anita's room, the police find a hidden folder of documents. Among them is a small booklet from HDFC Bank in Anita Mehta's name, but with a different address than her home address. "It's a separate account that the family didn't know about," explains Inspector Verma. Over the past year, Anita has transferred almost 500,000 rupees to it, a significant portion of her salary. When the police checked the account, they found that Anita had withdrawn all the money in cash 3 days before she disappeared. "This is a classic sign of a runaway," says Inspector Verma. "A person gathers finances without leaving electronic traces." However, the case becomes more complicated when the police gain access to the city's surveillance cameras. One of them shows Anita entering the Radisson Blu Hotel at 11:45 p.m., a few hours before she disappeared. This is after a taxi dropped her off near a shopping center. She was alone, with the same backpack, Officer Dalal comments as he reviews the recording. She seemed calm, not under duress. The hotel administrator confirms that Anita rented a room for one night, paid in cash, and left the hotel at 4 a.m. The cameras on her way out recorded her wearing the same clothes, but without her backpack. Further tracking of Anita's path led to the following discovery. At 4:30 a.m., she got into a taxi that took her to the area where her wedding dress was later found in the river. The taxi driver confirmed that he had dropped her off at the bridge, the inspector said. She told him she wanted to meet the dawn by the river. He described her as strangely calm. At the same time, forensic experts who examined Vishal's car, a white Hyundai i20, found traces of blood on the trunk mat. The preliminary analysis confirms that the blood belongs to Anita, says forensic scientist Rishi Bhatt. But there are few traces, more like drops than a serious injury. When the police show this evidence to Vishal, he looks genuinely shocked. I don't understand, he says, holding his head. Anita hasn't been in my car for a week. The last time we drove together was to meet a florist. Further examination reveals a strange feature of the blood in Vishal's car. It contains a faint trace of a preservative used in medical laboratories to preserve samples. This raises serious questions, says forensic scientist Bhatt, cautiously. The blood could have been placed there on purpose. Meanwhile, the police find a mysterious letter addressed to Anita in the mailbox of her house. The letter has no return address and contains only one line. Remember our plan. Don't back down. A handwriting analysis reveals that the letter was written by Aditya Chopra, although he initially denies any involvement. Okay, I helped her, Aditya eventually admits, under pressure from the evidence. But not in the way you think. Anita did not want this marriage. She felt that she was being forced into a corner. "Then where is she now?" asks Inspector Verma bluntly. I don't know," Aditya replies, and the lie detector shows that he is telling the truth. "We discussed different options, but she didn't tell me her final plan. She said it would be safer for me." When the investigation hits a dead end, an unexpected witness comes forward, an employee of the Radisson Blu Hotel who cleaned Anita's room. "There was a phone there," recalls Lakshmi Devi, the maid. "Not the expensive one they said she left at home, a simple, cheap one. I gave it to the manager." This simple push-button phone becomes a new clue in a case that is becoming more and more confusing with each passing day. Who is the real Anita Mehta? Did she plan her escape by staging a crime? Or was she the victim of someone else's plans? As Inspector Verma says, now we are not dealing with a lack of evidence, but with an overabundance of it. And the question is, which ones are genuine and which ones are part of someone's plan? Family is not just people who share blood. It is people who share secrets. And when these secrets begin to surface, they can destroy what seemed unshakable. The 21st day of the investigation. Inspector Rohit Verma sits in the living room of the Mehta home, observing the family dynamics. Ashok Mehta, Anita's father, paces the room, occasionally stopping to look at the family photos on the wall. Sunaina Mehta, her mother, sits motionless, mechanically picking through her rosary, her way of dealing with stress. Anita's younger sister, 19-year-old Priya Mehta, nervously taps her fingers on her phone screen. "Tell me more about the relationship between your families," the inspector gently suggests, addressing Ashok. Ashok shrugs his shoulders. "Normal relations. Of course, they are richer than us. Rajendra Singh is a famous lawyer, his wife is a professor. We are ordinary people, but we raised our daughter with dignity." "And what about the dowry?" the inspector asks cautiously. The room is immediately filled with tension. Sunaina freezes, clutching her rosary in her fist. Ashok stops abruptly. "No one officially demanded anything," he says slowly. "It would have been illegal." But Minal Singh was always mentioning in front of Anita what expensive gifts other grooms brought to their family. Gold jewelry, cars, real estate. We are not poor, but we are not that wealthy either. Inspector Verma nodded as he took notes. Raising the issue of dowry in contemporary India often comes through subtle hints and social pressure rather than direct demands. Anita started taking on additional projects, Sunaina adds quietly. She was working nights. She said she wanted to contribute to her life with Vishal. "She bought gold jewelry," Priya suddenly interjects. "She showed me. She said it was a gift for my mother-in-law." When Mehta's family left the room to make tea, Inspector Verma had the opportunity to speak to Priya alone. "You look like you want to say something," he says, noticing her nervousness. Priya looks around, making sure her parents can't hear. "Anita wanted to call off the wedding," she whispers. "A week before she disappeared, she came to me at night crying. She said she felt trapped, that she was not sure about Vishal." "Why exactly?" the inspector clarifies. "She found something in his phone, some messages I don't know from whom. She said that Vishal is not who he says he is." Meanwhile, the forensic examination of Anita's wedding dress found in the river yields unexpected results. "The dress wasn't just thrown into the water," explains forensic expert Rishi Bhatt. "It was carefully laid out on the surface, using small floats to keep it visible. The marks on the fabric indicate that someone carefully prepared this exhibit." When Inspector Verma reports this to Ashok Mehta, he suddenly explodes. "It's the Singhs. They did something to my daughter. They didn't like that we couldn't give them enough money." As Inspector Verma continues his investigation, he finds another clue. In Anita's emails, there is evidence of appointments with a psychotherapist, Dr. Maya Gupta, over the past 2 months. "I can't disclose the details of the sessions, Doctor." Gupta responds professionally during the interview. "But in general, I can say that Anita was experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety." "Was she afraid of anything in particular?" the inspector insists. Dr. Gupta chooses his words carefully. Let me put it this way. Anita felt like she was losing control of her life. She spoke of feeling like she was playing a role in a play directed by others. Meanwhile, the police conducted a detailed audit of the Singh family's finances. It turned out that over the past 6 months, they had invested significant amounts of money in renovating their home and buying a new car. Rajendra Singh took out a home equity loan against the house, says financial analyst Dev Patel. But that doesn't explain all the expenses. The source of the additional funds is unclear. When Inspector Verma confronts the Singh family with these facts, Minal Singh smiles nervously. We received financial assistance from relatives. This is a family matter. Did you expect financial help from Mehta's family after the wedding? The inspector asks bluntly. It's a tradition, Minal replies dryly. We didn't demand anything, but Anita herself understood that a young family needs support in the beginning. Additional pressure on the investigation comes when police officer Suresh Dalal finds new CCTV footage. This is a bus station in Delhi, morning of May 5th, 5:45 a.m. He explains, showing the video. A woman who looks a lot like Anita is buying a ticket. The quality of the recording is poor, but the height and body structure match. The recording shows a woman wearing a dark hooded jacket and sunglasses buying a ticket towards Mumbai. The ticket was purchased in cash, adds Officer Dalal. The passenger's name is Anika Sharma. It looks very similar to Anita Mehta. When Inspector Verma shares this information with Mehta's family, Priya becomes tense again. What's wrong? The inspector asks. Anika Sharma is the name that Anita used on her blog, Priya replies quietly. She wrote poetry when she was a teenager. No one knew about it but me. This makes the inspector reconsider his previous assumptions. If Anita was really planning her escape using an alternative identity, the situation may be even more complicated than it seemed. Anita may not be a victim of a crime, Inspector Verma cautiously suggests during a briefing at the police station. But that doesn't mean she's not a victim of other circumstances. Meanwhile, a check of Anita's medical records reveals that she had given a blood sample for a routine test 2 months ago. This detail takes on new meaning in light of the unusual traces of blood in Vishal's car. Could someone have gained access to her samples? The inspector asks the clinic nurse. Theoretically, no, she replies. But the samples are kept in a refrigerator in the lab, if you know what you're looking for. The picture is gradually emerging, but each new piece of evidence only adds layers of complexity. Who planned what? And who was running away from whom? In this case, summarizes Inspector Verma, the family secrets turned out to be deeper than the water in which the wedding dress was floating. And we are only beginning to see what is hidden beneath the surface. Sometimes people disappear not because they have been taken away, but because they want to become someone else. To create a new identity, where no one knows their past and where their future has not yet been written. The 29th day of the investigation, Mumbai Police Station, Andheri District. Inspector Rohit Verma is drinking strong tea, trying to overcome fatigue after a 6-hour drive from Delhi. Opposite him, a local officer, Inspector Pradeep Rawat, sits looking through the case file. We checked the passenger on the bus, Rawat says. The woman, who identified herself as Anika Sharma, got off at Mumbai Central bus station at 7:30 p.m. on May 6th. From there, her trail was lost in the crowd. Investigative teams scatter around the city, interviewing taxi drivers, checking hotels and hostels. But the real breakthrough comes when Anita's younger sister, Priya, remembers an important detail. Anita has a cousin in Mumbai, she says over the phone. Divya Sharma. They're not very close, but they used to talk sometimes. Anita once said that Divya is the only one in the family who really understands her. Divya Sharma is not hard to find. The 27-year-old works as a journalist for an online publication, specializing in women's issues and rights. Her small apartment is located in the trendy but not too expensive Bandra neighborhood. Yes, Anita is my cousin, Divya calmly confirms when the inspectors come to her. But I haven't seen her for several months. We communicate mostly online. Divya allows the police to inspect the apartment. At first glance, they don't find anything suspicious, but Inspector Verma's experienced eye notices small details. "These cushions on the couch," he says quietly to his colleague. "They are arranged symmetrically, too neatly. It's as if someone deliberately created the impression of virginity." A supermarket receipt dated May 7th is found in the junk drawer, along with 2 packages of ready-to-eat food, a toothbrush, and shampoo. In the bathroom, there is a subtle smell of perfume, not unlike the scent Divya wears. "Someone has been here recently," says Inspector Verma. When Divya is questioned again, this time more persistently, she eventually confesses, "Yes, Anita was here. She came on May 6th in the evening and left on the morning of May 8th. But I swear she was alive and well." "Where did she go?" asks Inspector Rawat. "I don't know. Or rather, she asked me not to tell you." Divya looks down. "She was very afraid of being found." "Who was she afraid of?" "Vishal." "No, not Vishal. She was afraid of everything. Of the system, the family, expectations. She said that she felt like her life was written in advance, and she was just an actress in it, who had to play her part." Another piece of evidence is found in Divya's apartment, a prospectus for the immigration company Global Horizons, with a circled contact number thrown in the trash. When the police visit the company's office, consultant Nirajan Agarwal reluctantly confirms, "Yes, Anita Mehta was our client. She was interested in accelerated immigration programs to Canada for IT professionals. She started consultations 3 months ago." Meanwhile, in Delhi, Inspector Dalal is re-interviewing Vishal Singh using new information. "Did you know that Anita had doubts about the wedding?" he asks bluntly. Vishal is silent for a long time, then nods slowly. "Yes, I knew. A month ago, she said she wasn't sure if she was ready. We talked for a long time. I was sure that we had made up our minds." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "I was afraid it would make me the main suspect," Vishal admits. "And I was ashamed that I couldn't make her happy." A check of Anita's email brings new revelations. Over the past 2 months, she has been corresponding with several potential employers in Toronto, sending out resumes and going through online interviews. "She planned everything very carefully," says Inspector Verma, looking through the correspondence. "This is not an impulsive escape. This is a well-thought-out plan." In one of the letters, Anita writes to a potential employer, "I will be able to start work in early June. I am currently finalizing some personal matters in India." An interesting twist comes when the police find a series of transactions from Anita's secret account. A week before she disappeared, she transferred 50,000 rupees to a medical laboratory account. It doesn't look like payment for medical services, the financial analyst notes. More like a bribe? Further investigation reveals that a nurse named Ritu Patel, a former classmate of Anita's, works at the same lab. She asked for a sample of her blood, Ritu confesses during interrogation. "She said it was for a personal project. I knew it was wrong, but she was so desperate. And she offered me money that would have been enough for my father's treatment." "Did you give her a sample?" "Yes, 3 tubes. She said it was her insurance." This evidence conclusively confirms that the blood in Vishal's car was planted deliberately, probably by Anita herself. Meanwhile, at the Mumbai airport, security officers are reviewing the camera footage from May 8th to 9th. "We have it," says Immigration Officer Vikas Malhotra. "May 8th, Flight AI-191 to Toronto. Passenger Anika Singh, 26 years old. Indian passport issued in Mumbai 2 years ago." The video shows a woman who looks very much like Anita, but with short hair and glasses. She calmly passes through passport control without showing any signs of anxiety. The passport is genuine, the expert confirms. But the face, it looks like we're dealing with a very well-planned identity change. When Inspector Verma informs the Mehta family of the new findings, Anita's parents are sharply divided. Ashok Mehta flies into a rage. "This is impossible. My daughter couldn't have done this. Someone made her do it." Sunaina Mehta, on the other hand, looks devastated but not surprised. "I always knew that Anita was different. I always dreamed of something more. I just didn't think she was capable of taking this step." Priya, the younger sister, sobs in the corner. "She promised me that she would write someday, when she's safe." "So Anita is alive?" a reporter asks Inspector Verma bluntly during a press briefing. "All the evidence points to Anita Mehta being alive and having left the country of her own free will," the inspector cautiously replies. "But we are continuing our investigation to rule out any possibility of coercion or threat." Meanwhile, Vishal Singh, no longer considered a suspect, sits in his room, rereading the latest messages from Anita. "I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm finally going to be your wife." Now these words take on a completely different, darker meaning. Not a promise of happiness, but a last "I'm sorry" before disappearing forever. At the end of the day, Inspector Verma makes the last entry in the case. Anita Mehta has transformed her disappearance into the appearance of someone else. She is not a victim of crime in the traditional sense, but perhaps a victim of circumstances and social expectations that forced her to choose such a radical path. When we finally find the truth, it is rarely as clear as we expect. Sometimes it has more questions than answers, and often the hardest thing to understand is not what happened, but why. The 60th day of the investigation. The conference room of the Delhi police station. Inspector Rohit Verma is standing in front of a large screen with a frozen image of a woman with short hair, wearing simple glasses with clear lenses, dressed in a business suit. Despite the change in appearance, her face is unmistakably recognizable. Anita Mehta. This photograph was taken 3 days ago in Toronto, Canada. The inspector announces to a group of police officers and members of the Mehta and Singh families. "We can finally confirm Anita Mehta is alive. She was not kidnapped or murdered. She planned her disappearance and is now living in Canada under the name Anika Singh." Emotions explode in the hall. Ashok Mehta covers his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking. Sunaina Mehta is crying quietly, holding her daughter Priya's hand. Vishal Singh sits motionless, his eyes fixed on the screen, as if trying to understand how the woman he had known for 3 years could turn into a stranger. "We contacted Anita through the local Toronto police," the inspector continues. "She agreed to a video interview on the condition that there would be no legal consequences, since technically she had not committed any crime. She left the country legally, with a valid passport." The inspector turns on the video. Anita appears on the screen, calm, collected, with a determined look. She is sitting in a bright room with a panorama of an unfamiliar city outside the window. "I want to start by apologizing," she says, looking directly into the camera. "I realize how much pain and suffering I have caused, especially to my parents, to Vishal, to everyone who was worried. But I also want you to understand that I had no other choice." Over the next 40 minutes, Anita talks in detail about her life, about the mounting pressure, about the feeling that her life was moving down a path she did not choose. "I loved Vishal," she admits. "I still feel warm for him. But marriage became not about us two, but about uniting families, about money, about status. I was strangled by expectations, to be an ideal wife, daughter-in-law, and then mother. Every day I felt the real Anita disappearing more and more." She tells how she started planning her escape almost 6 months ago. First, as an abstract possibility, then as a concrete plan. "I knew that it would not be possible to simply cancel the wedding," she explains. "There would be too much pressure, persuasion, and accusations. The only way was to disappear without anyone looking for me." She describes her plan in minute detail. A secret account where she put money, consultations with immigration experts, creating a new identity, preparing documents. The hardest part was the passport. Anita admits. But Divya introduced me to people who helped. I'm not proud that I used illegal channels, but it was my only chance. The most shocking thing is Anita's confession about her missing wedding dress. I knew I needed something to divert attention from the voluntary disappearance story, something dramatic. I bought a cheap copy of my dress 3 weeks before the wedding. The night I disappeared, I specially prepared the dress, attached small floats made of plastic bottles to it so that it wouldn't sink right away. Early in the morning, I took her to the river and put her in the water. "What about the blood in Vishal's car?" asks the voiceover of the inspector. It was a desperate move. Anita looks down. I bribed a nurse to get a sample of my blood. Late at night, when Vishal was at a bachelor party, I broke into his parents' garage and left a few drops in the trunk. I knew it would make him a suspect, but I was sure his alibi would quickly be confirmed. I just wanted to buy time. When asked if she regrets her actions, Anita is silent for a long time. I regret the pain I caused, but not about my decision. Now, I work for an IT company in Toronto, live in a small apartment, and make my own decisions about my life. I'm finally breathing freely. When the video ends, a heavy silence falls in the conference room. Inspector Verma announces, "From a legal point of view, the case can be considered closed. There was no crime. But I realize that for many of you, this is not the end." The family's reactions are different, but equally emotional. Ashok Mehta declares menacingly that he no longer has a daughter. Sunaina cries, repeating, "My girl is alive, that's all that matters." Vishal looks devastated, but says with restraint, "I'm just glad she's okay." After the meeting, Inspector Verma gives an exclusive interview for our documentary. "This case made me think about free will and social expectations," he reflects. On the one hand, Anita had the right to choose her life. On the other hand, the methods she chose caused deep trauma to those who loved her. This makes us ask, when does the desire for personal freedom become selfishness? And vice versa. When do social responsibilities become a trap? 3 months after the case was closed, Priya Mehta received her first letter from her sister. It contains a photo of Anita in the library of the University of Toronto, where she began studying computer science. She looks happy, Priya says, showing the photo. Different, but happy. Vishal Singh is gradually returning to normal life. When asked if he is still angry with Anita, he answers simply, "At first, yes. Now, I think I partially understand her. Maybe we were both not ready for the life that was imposed on us." The most unexpected twist comes when Sunaina Mehta, against her husband's wishes, secretly flies to Toronto to see her daughter. Their meeting, according to Sunaina, was painful but healing. "I told her that no matter what name she has or where she lives, she will always be my daughter," Sunaina says. "And you know what? When I came back, I started taking English classes. Maybe someday I will be able to live in another country too." Exactly 1 year after Anita's disappearance, the Yamuna River brings a symbolic gift again. This time, it is a white paper boat with a note inside. "Sometimes you have to let go to find." It is not known who launched this boat, but for many, it became a symbol of reconciliation. What remains of this story? Many questions without clear answers. Does the desire for freedom justify the deception of those who love you? Is it possible to build a new life on the ruins of the old one? And most importantly, where is the line between personal choice and social responsibility? As Anita herself said at the end of her video message, "I am not the heroine of this story, and perhaps not a victim. I am just a person who made a difficult choice. Someone may think it was selfish, someone may think it was brave, but it was my choice. And for the first time in my life, I feel that my future belongs to me."